Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Think Tank Thursday. I'm Denise Killian with Trainertainment and thrilled that you're joining us for this week's episode. Before we begin, I want to thank our Think Tank sponsors for 2025. We appreciate them, and without them, we couldn't do what we do, which is bring you a new episode of Think Tank Thursday each and every week. So on Thursdays, Trainertainment likes to take a break from doing and spend a little bit of time thinking. So today, I want you to get your pencils out and a notepad out because you're gonna want to take notes. We're talking to Amber Lambert with Betson about arcades and metrics. What are the important metrics you need to be paying attention to? What are the important factors to help make your arcades even more successful in your center? So I'm excited to talk to her about her ideas. So let's jump right in and get started with growth. Amber Lambert, we're so excited to have you here with us for Think Tank Thursday.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to start off by, for the handful of folks that might not know you, tell us a little bit about your fabulous story and what you do and what led you to Betson.
Yeah, absolutely. I work for Betson now. I do sales in the West Coast, Pacific Northwest, and Western and Central Canada. But I also do a lot of speaking events because I started my career in this industry with my own family entertainment center. I built it from the ground up. I helped at a corporate-owned family entertainment center as a general manager. And I also worked in the game card space. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything, and I love to share knowledge and grow other people's businesses.
And so you are the perfect person to talk to about what we're going to talk about today. Because you have the experience not only as an operator and an owner, as someone who, as you said, started your own center from the ground up. So you've got that experience, but then you also work at Betson and you guys sell the games and the experiences to FECs. So you've got the best of both worlds here. So I'm super excited to pick your brain today about arcades and what metrics we should be seeing from them. Does that sound good?
Yeah, favorite subject.
All right. All right. So, obviously, if you've got arcades or games in your center, whether it's 2 or 200, there should be an ROI from that. And it's hard sometimes for people to figure out what that should be. And there's some tricks of the trade, so to speak, to help you up that ROI. And it begins with what games you've got and where you put them on the floor.
Absolutely. So, your ROI on arcade games should fall around the 12 to 18 month range. Some of them are going to be quicker. Your games like your merchandisers and cranes, those are probably going to be a lot quicker ROI. They're cheaper. They tend to have, a lot of gameplay. Some of your more, video type games, so your drivers, your racing games, those tend to cost a little bit more and don't earn as well as like the merchandisers, but those are going to have a little bit longer. So we're kind of aiming for that 12-month area. That's our sweet spot that we're looking for. Games have a great ROI. What I try to tell people when we're talking about mixture of games, people are like, well, why wouldn't you just put in all of the quickest ROI games? Well, there's more to it than that. There's also time value. So as a mom comes into your center, if I blow through $20 in 10 minutes on just your quick play crane games or quick play redemption games, I'm probably not coming back with my kids. So that's why we blend in some of the other experiences, the shooting and the driving and the VR experiences. We want to blend those in, even though they have a little bit longer ROI. We're not going to go super heavy on those. We're going to probably be in the 25% of your game room is going to have those, but you need to have them. They're a necessary evil They're still going to be a great experience for your guests, but it's not just about the money. You have to get your guests to come back.
So I love that because, it's not just about how fast can I get my money back from it.
Yeah.
And it's not the I want the one-time visit. It's I want to keep people coming back. And that mixture is essential to that. And you mentioned about 25% of your game floor, however big that might be or small that might be, should be that VR or a driving experience, or, behind you, you've got the motorcycle games, right? The super bikes, those sorts of experiences. What is the magic blend that you would encourage people altogether? If 25% should be those experiences, what's the other 75%?
Well, I mean, it's different for every market, but that's why you need to work with your distributor because they're in every market. They see what's working, what's not working. But we tend to see the sweet spot at 20 to 25% in video games. Those are the games that aren't going to give you any tickets. They're just fun to play. We're in the 60 to 70% on ticket redemption games. And then the 15 to 20% in the merchandiser games. So and there are some games that cross over too. So there are some pushers now that also give tickets, and there are some, video games that also give tickets. And so there are some of those crossovers as well that you can blend in. But again, you're gonna work with whoever you're working with in the distribution because again, I know they're trying to sell you games, but they also want to sell you games that you're successful, right? I don't want to sell you junk because you're going to be out of business. I want to sell you games that you're going to be able to trade in a couple of years and get some new games, right? I want you to be successful. So I have a vested interest in getting you the best games.
Yeah, absolutely. When we talk about redemption games and the merchandiser games, what should those payouts look like?
So I think a lot of people, don't pay enough attention to their payouts. Your game room payout should be around 30%, if not even a little bit higher. Winners make players, and you'll see that in the casinos. And then the same thing with your merchandisers. One every 3 or 4 times it should be paying out. Depending on you should be about 30%. So your cost of goods for your redemption products should still be in the 10 to 15% range. You're not spending a ton of money on that. You're still having a great ROI, but you want those guests to leave with something good. If you spend $50 and you leave with an eraser, again, you're not coming back, right? They're gonna give you a review with their pocketbook and just go somewhere else. So make sure they feel like they're getting a good value and not just their time and their money, but what they leave with in that experience.
So I love that threshold, right? Every 3 to 4 times you get something.
Yeah.
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 That's great. That's great. When we talk about redemption, you said uh, that markup.
Yeah.
Where should that be? What should that look like?
So I think a lot of people confuse redemption ticket payout and then the redemption ticket markup. So your markup is on how much you're marking up your prizes. So if you get something from one of the redemption companies for $1, and your points are a penny a point, then maybe you're redeeming it for 200 tickets, right? So it's double if you're a 2 times markup, or a 3 times markup would be triple. But that has nothing to do with how many tickets the game pays out. So if you play a game for $1 and you're paying out 30% in tickets, then you're giving them 30 cents worth of tickets, right? So then they take that 30 cents to your redemption counter. If you have a 2 times markup, they're buying a 15-cent item with that. So you have two different metrics that you can play around with to see what works best in your area. And it's not a set it and forget it thing. And that's where the game card systems come in, because you want to consistently evaluate, hey, are people feeling like they're getting a good experience? Are they, is my ticket markup too high? Am I not paying out enough tickets? Like, there's two different areas that you can play with to get that perfect, feeling for your guests.
And I love it's not set it and forget it.
No.
Yeah. How often should you be reevaluating that?
Uh, Usually tell people to, we do a system called the Betson Wellness Program where we'll evaluate people and their game room and help them with those kind of things. And we'll do it even for if you're working with one of our competitors. So it doesn't matter who you're working with. If you want us to help you look at your reports and do an evaluation, we're here for it. And most of my customers will do it. Once every 6 months or so. They'll run a report. When you're running your report, you want it to be at least 6 weeks so you get enough good data. If you do it too short and somebody just won a big jackpot, it might look like your payout's too high when it's actually not. So you want to give a good data set when you do that.
Absolutely. So, figuring out what that looks like when we're combining um, the payout from the games with what we're marking up our redemption items, that balance needs to be there. But as you said, it shouldn't be too high on your favor, right? Where, because if people are walking away after, as you beautifully put, spending $50 and all they got to show for it was a pencil, that's not going to be a fun, let me go back there again, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like, for example, there's a really famous children's entertainment center that we all know about that they tend to have a low price point to play. So it's usually like one quarter, whatever would be equivalent to that. Um, they tend to not pay out a lot of tickets. So don't feel like you're winning a ton. And their redemption prizes seem to be marked up pretty high. So at the end of the experience, even though you get a long play time because it costs you very little to play, you don't feel like you walked away with a great value. And there's a more adult center that charges a premium for the same kind of thing. So they're charging a higher price per play, but you feel like you win the jackpots, you walk away with a decent prize. Be it branded with their brand, I don't care. I felt like I got something cool out of it. And I go back to that one all the time. So you can demand a higher price if people feel like they're getting a good value for that price.
And that's something that's so important too, because when you look at if I if I feel like the value is there, it's the value proposition for the customer. If I spent this much money and all I got is this lousy eraser, I'm probably not gonna return again. But even if it is a teddy bear that everybody knows costs $3 and I wound up spending $50 to win enough points to get that teddy bear, I'm walking away with this teddy bear.
You also have to take into account the time, right? So if you blew through that $50 to get that teddy bear, but it only took you 10 minutes because things were priced too high, you're still not going to feel great about the experience because you want to have, you want to go out with your family and have a good, dinner and have, good hour or so to play. You don't want to blow through it so quickly that you don't get that. So it's finding that sweet spot in your market. And again, you could I did a evaluation of 10 different locations and because everybody's like, hey, what are the top 10 games, right? I did the top 10 games in 10 different locations and they were all different. They were all different. So it's not the same. I mean, there are similarities, right? You're going to see the big ring crane games, you're going to see pushers. But there are markets that their basketball game is their top game. So it's like, it's not, and that's rare, but it's not one size fits all. So you really can't just say, hey, what's the top 10 games? It's going to be different.
I love that because so often when, I'm talking with folks who are like, hey, we're looking at expanding. And that's the question that probably 85% of people will ask is tell me the top 10 games. That's what I should do. I want the top 10 that has the best ROI.
Yeah,
But it varies from market to market and place to place.
it does. And again, your ROI is more than just that one game. It's your repeat business. It's your overall feeling. It's how long I got to spend in your center. So don't be so close-minded that you're just looking at that one ROI for that one game. It has to be a package.
Excellent. Oh, that's excellent, excellent advice. So talk to me about pricing a little bit more and promotion.
So there's a lot you can do with your game rooms. A lot of people aren't doing like dynamic pricing in our industry, and they really should. Everybody's always trying to push people to show up at, Wednesday or Tuesday when they're slow, but you could make the same money by just increasing your prices when you're busy, right? Like make hay when the sun shines. Like that's you're spending a lot of effort trying to drive people to show up at days that they just don't want to, right? Or they got other stuff to do. Their kids are in school. You know, Weekends are a busy time. So, the airlines do it. Everybody does it, everywhere you go, nobody complains. I mean, some people complain, but, everybody's kind of used to it by now. So, if you go into some, national brands, you'll see that they have a different price on their games every day of the week. But you don't go in every day, so you wouldn't even know. You know, Most people are visiting your center 2, 3, maybe 4 times a year. They're not going to know if the price is different on your big bass wheel on a Tuesday as it is on a Saturday. So, you need to increase your prices and then do, happy hour pricing or whatever during the slower periods. But I would say bundling, doing things that you could do like a double ticket event or something like that. I'm pretty against discounting. I'm not a big discounter. I don't like discounting your brand, so I'd rather see you, add credits for certain times. I always tell people to make sure your promotions are measurable and have an end date. Um, so you don't want to discount to people that are already coming in the door anyway. I don't know how many times I've been into a place and they're like, I was coming in, I was going to pay full price, and then I see that they've got a half price day. I'm like, oh, bonus, right? Like I was about to give you full price, but you just, cut it in half for me. So make sure it's actually driving traffic in, and it's not just something you're discounting to people that were coming anyway.
Which is a good point. And the measurable is really, really key. Because if we don't measure it, if we can't track, hey, we had 100 more people come in the door on these days than normally we do because of this event, then you don't know, right? If you're just like, well, we don't know if it's successful or not, it could be costing you money. And if you keep doing it because you're not measuring it properly, that's a problem.
Yeah, and I know it's successful for some people. Some people will do half price days on certain days of the week, but I feel like that you're driving traffic that probably would have come and paid full price. They would have come on a Saturday. They would have played maybe even double, but you're not necessarily bringing in new customers because of that. And sometimes when you discount your product, you're bringing in customers that you don't want. And if you're too cheap, you're also on games, you're putting a lot of wear and tear on games that don't necessarily need to have that much wear and tear to make the same revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about dynamic pricing and maybe upping the price on weekends, or, if you guys are rocking on a Thursday night, you're gonna, do some dynamic pricing for those Thursday nights. Um, there is a threshold where people will notice, right? So you can't double the price of the game, right?
Maybe it depends on your market, it depends on your market. If you're in a tourist location and you're, still charging $1 for games where, people are paying, a lot, they're spending $15 on a hot dog, you're probably underpriced, So there are places that have been in business a long time and they've gotten very comfortable with their prices, or they're stuck in that quarter mindset. And the great thing about card systems is you can increase your price by smaller increments. You don't have to double it. You could add 20 cents. You could add 15 cents. It doesn't have to be a quarter. So we have to get out of that quarter mindset and realize that there are increments between 25 cents and 50 cents that you could actually play with.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we're talking about metrics, in today's world, our lives are so much easier because we have technology. Uh, and we're able to get a great amount of data and information um, from technology that otherwise would take 50 times the man hours to manually go and find this and that and whatever. But I think oftentimes, even though we have this great technology, people aren't utilizing it as well as they could.
Oh yeah, there's so much you can do, especially with the card systems, to minimize your track your lost revenue or downtime. If you know, because you're looking at your reports, if you know how much your game makes and it's down, you'll know how much money you're losing over a weekend. So if you have to order $1,000 part overnighted to you to get it up and running, but it was going to make you $2,000, well, you spend the money, right? You don't like to spend the money, but you're losing more by having the game down. So knowing those numbers is super important, and also knowing when it's time to let go of a game is pretty important. People will sit there and look at a game, they'll be like, well, it still makes $100 a month. No, it's probably decreasing your entire overall game room. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes you got to let go of those games. It's made its ROI, it's made its money. Time to let it go. Yeah, your Pac-Man, it's time to let it go. It's good in your basement, but it doesn't belong in your paid arcade.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, if you're not tracking those numbers, if you're not using the technology that comes with your card system, then you're kind of shooting in the dark.
Yeah, we tell people that, every year or every 2 years, you should be looking to replace your bottom 10% of your games. So, that's going to keep your game room fresh and make sure you're not sitting on that dog that's not performing for you very long. And part of your ROI is also your trade-in value. So if you're buying a cheap Chinese knockoff game that has no trade-in value, or if you're buying a game that you have a game that's 30 years old that has no trade-in value, it's I tell people, think of it like a car. If you run the car for 30 years and 600,000 miles, you're gonna have to pay somebody to haul it off, right? But if you trade it in after 2 or 3 years, while it still has a secondary market to it, you're going to get a good chunk of change that you can roll into a new game. So by keeping your game room fresh, you're also increasing your ROI by getting rid of games while they still have a secondary market, not running them into the ground.
And I love that metric. It's a simple one. Every 2 years, your bottom 10% performers, time for them to go, bring some new things in.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
rotate your games on your game room. I used to do that all the time. I would rearrange and people would come in, think I got all new games. So just move things around. It's fun.
Speaking of layout, what do you encourage people when you're consulting them about their arcades? The first thing that people should see, is it those cranes and those merchandisers? Is it that cool VR game? Is it the bikes? Is it what
Redemption.
is it?
Your redemption counter should be the first thing they see. Yeah, that's what's going to drive the gameplay. Kids are going to see the prizes and say, I want that. So, a lot of people that used to put redemption counters in the back of a room are starting to move them closer to the front door. That if you hide it, then the parents that don't want to spend the money will keep their kids from going that area. So like you need them to walk through it. It's like the checkout at the grocery store, how they have all the candy and stuff. They're appealing to your kids, right? They know their kids got to throw a fit if they can't do that. So that's definitely what you need to do. It needs to be the grocery store mindset.
Okay, that's beautiful because there's a lot of folks that are like, oh, well, especially kind of your traditional bowling alleys, for example, that are looking to expand and maybe add some things. And arcades is a great way to start. They had a couple of games. Now they want to make that bigger. And because it's the afterthought of, this center has been here for 60 years, we'll tuck it away in this corner and we'll put the redemption in this around the corner from that because that's the space that we have.
Yeah, and bowling is tricky because you're also trying not to upset your league bowlers, but your league bowlers aren't bringing you near the revenue you're going to get from your arcade. So it's finding that balance, especially in that environment, and selling it to your guests. But what a lot of people don't realize is games also have two different volumes on them. They have an attract volume and then they have a gameplay volume. So you can have the game turned way down on attract volume when nobody's playing it, but when somebody coins it up, then the sound will go up. So that way it wouldn't, upset your league bowlers during the weekdays, but you would still have that fun environment when you're busy and doing birthday parties.
Fantastic. Amber, I feel like I would be remiss if I did not make note of the fact that are those Pac-Man earrings that you're wearing?
They are. They are. I got a Pac-Man and yeah. Yeah, if you see me at any of the trade shows, I will have different earrings every day. So come check out my cool earrings. That's my trademark.
That's fantastic. Now, no, that is an endorsement of Pac-Man earrings and Pac-Man being in your basement, not in your arcade.
Yeah. Yes. And branded games that are newer that are awesome, but the traditional stand-up cabinet does not belong in your arcade.
There we go. Amber, how can people get in touch with you?
Lambert at Betson.com. You can find us on the website, on social media. Like I said, most of the trade shows you can find me. Come say hi.
Beautiful. Amber, I know that you do a lot of service to others. You do a lot of speaking. You come and talk to me on Think Tank Thursday to share your knowledge with others. What is the most recent thing that you have learned that you can share with us today?
I have learned a lot about patience, I think, from my children. They teach me every day, but yeah, I think I've also learned a lot about the younger generation and not looking at them like they're foreign, basically. They've got a lot of skill sets that I think we underestimate.
Oh, that's beautiful and well said. Well said. Well, Amber, as always, my brain is spinning from all of this. This is just such great information. And I know I've learned a lot, and I know that our viewers have too. So thank you so much for your time today. My goodness, that's a lot of information to take in. So I hope that you wrote some things down. If not, you'll have to come back and visit this Think Tank Thursday again, because Amber had some great information about maximizing your arcades and helping your growth for your center. And I love that it doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money, right? It could mean something as simple as rearranging the layout of your arcade that can make an impact. But it's important that you pay attention to the metrics. So thanks, Amber, for helping break down what metrics are important and what we need to be paying attention to within our own centers. I also want to thank our sponsors for 2025. We appreciate what they do that allows us to bring you Think Tank Thursday each and every week. If you have an idea for Think Tank Thursday, or if you'd like to be a guest, I'd love to hear from you. Just shoot me an email at denise@trainertainment.net. So thanks for coming and joining us for today's episode of Think Tank Thursday. And remember that the journey to success is all about growth. And here at Trainertainment, we are committed to helping you on your growth journey. So please visit trainertainment.net to learn how we can support you and support your growth for yourself, your team, your business by setting up a free growth call with one of our coaches. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving for the extraordinary.
Playthrough is an online scoring system for mini golf courses. Simply post a QR code near the first hole. Golfers scan it with any mobile phone, add their golfers, and start entering scores. They can easily view their group leaderboard or the course leaderboards. Playthrough also includes features like hole sponsor logos and hole transition ads to help grow your business. Visit playthroughmini.com to see what else Playthrough can do.